Nick Mack's Goodluck, written by Mara Bergman, read to you by Miss Keating. Nick Mack collected things. He kept them on a bookshelf in his bedroom. There were dinosaurs along the top shelf, racing cars on the second shelf, and everything else on the bottom shelf. Used postage stamps, unusual stones, seashells, and elastic bands for his elastic band ball. Nick had lots of things, but more than anything, he wanted a pet. All of his friends had pets. Ethan had a rabbit, Lee had a tortoise, Shane had a tank full of fish. Ali had Newton, the best dog in the world. Whenever Nick asked his mother if he could have a pet, she said, "Someday, Nick. Someday when you're older." But Nick was beginning to think that someday was never day. Nick liked it when Auntie Terry came to stay. She always brought her bag with the big bright flowers on it. She said it brought her good luck. Nick thought it brought him good luck too. Every time Auntie Terry reached into the bag, she pulled out something special. One time it was a t-shirt with a picture of a dinosaur on the front. Another time it was an aeroplane that really flew. When Nick Mack heard the flip-flap of flip-flops coming up the path, he knew his aunt was here. "How's my favourite boy?" said Aunt Terry when Nick ran to greet her. "Great," he said, and he gave her a hug. They went into the kitchen. "How's my favourite sister?" Mum asked. "Have a good journey?" "Yes," said Aunt Terry, "but I could use a cold drink." Everyone had a cold drink. It was a hot day. "Let's see what I brought for you, Nick," said Auntie Terry, reaching into a bag. Where did it go?" Out came a mirror, a book, some clothes, an umbrella, and a toothbrush. That was all. "Oh, I'm so sorry, Nick. I must have forgotten it." Nick would have liked a present, but it didn't matter that much. Just then the baby started to cry. "I'll be right back," says Mum, though Nick knew she would be ages. "Let's go to the park," Aunt Terry said. "A walk will do me good after all that driving." "Yes, yes, yes," Nick shouted. "I better see to Annie," called Mum. "See you later." The park had swings and slides, picnic tables, and wood for nature walks and treasure hunts. Nick and Aunt Terry ran to the great big field. "You're fast, Nick," said Auntie Terry. Then she looked down and started combing through the grass with her fingers. "What did you lose?" Nick asked. "Nothing," said Auntie Terry. "I'm looking for 4-leaf clovers." "Well, that's easy," said Nick. "There are millions of them." But there weren't millions, or hundreds, or even one. There were lots of clovers with 3 leaves, but not a single one with 4. "I think I found one," said Aunt Terry. "Then maybe not." "There's one," said Nick. And there was. He picked it. "You're one lucky boy, Nick Mack. I hope you'll share your good luck with your auntie." When they returned home, Aunt Terry got out a dictionary. She put Nick's 4-leaf clover inside it and smoothed down the leaves. "This will help you keep your clover forever," she said, "and your good luck too. Now it's time for me to help your mum." First she went to put her sunglasses back in her bag. "What's this?" she said, holding up a small parcel. "I must have remembered it after all." She handed Nick the parcel. It seemed to Nick that his 4-leaf clover had already brought him luck. Nick Mack had a special friend, Ali. Ali Gold lived next door. Ali had a dog called Newton. Nick and Ali played with Newton all the time. Nick helped Ali feed and walk Newton. He helped her wash and brush him. Ali was good at sharing Newton with Nick. There was another reason why Ali was Nick's special friend. Ali liked collecting things too. While Aunt Terry was at home helping Mum, Nick went round to Ali's. Ali and Newton were already at the door. "Hi, Nick," said Ali. "Woof, woof, woof," said Newton. Nick reached into his pocket, then gave Newton a dog treat. He always had a dog treat for Newton. "My dad's taking us to the park," said Ali. "But first Newton and I are going to practice some tricks. Want to help?" Ali and Nick took turns throwing the special stick that Nick had found during one of their nature walks. Newton ran fast and jumped high and brought the stick back quickly. He did this a few times, then lay down by Ali's feet. "Roll over, Newton," said Ali. Newton rolled over. "Paw," said Ali. Newton sat up and gave Ali his paw. "Paw," said Nick. Newton gave Nick his paw as well. Then, because he loved to run, Nick ran up and down Ali's garden. Newton ran up and down Ali's garden too. Mr. Gold opened the door and said, "Are you ready, Ali?" "Hello, Nick. Why don't you ask your mum if you can come to the park with us?" So Nick did, and he could. At the park, Newton did lots of sniffing. He rolled in the grass. Other people were out with their dogs too. Mrs. Regan from the post office, and Johnny Smith and Mark Burgeon from school. As they walked across the field, Nick said, "I found a four-leaf clover right over here." "Yesterday?" "Really?" asked Ellie. "You must be very lucky," said Mr. Gold. "I've never found a four-leaf clover in my life. Have you made a wish?" "Oh, yes," said Nick. Nick was always wishing, and he always wished for the same thing. "I hope your wish comes true," said Mr. Gold. Suddenly Newton saw a squirrel and he was off. "Newton, Newton!" Ellie and Nick and Mr. Gold called, but Newton kept running. Then Nick had an idea. He reached into his pocket and held up a dog treat. "Newton!" he said very loudly. Newton turned. Newton looked, and Newton ran fast straight back to Nick. "See," said Ellie, "Newton thinks he's your dog too." On the way back to Allie's, Nick found 3 elastic bands for his elastic band ball. It was going to be the biggest in the world. He found 2 feathers and an unusual looking stone. He'd put them in his bookcase when he got home. Allie found 4 acorns. She also found 2 small buttons and an old key. "I didn't know you liked keys," said Nick. "Neither did I," said Allie, "but I collect them now." At home, Allie and Nick gave Newton another dog treat. "Even though he was a bit naughty," said Allie. Then they brushed Newton's fur until it was silky and soft. Afterwards, Nick said, "I'd better go now. Thanks for having me." Nick had lots to think about. He thought about Newton and Allie and how Allie had said Newton thought he was Nick's dog too. He thought about them living next door. He thought about collecting things and also about friendship. "I am lucky," said Nick to himself. Then Nick Mack skipped back home. Nick Mack loved birthdays, especially when they were his. He also loved sunny days. But when Nick Mack woke up on his birthday, the sun was not shining. The day was wet and cold. Mum and Aunt Terry and Annie came bouncing and singing into Nick's room. "Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you." Balloons came bouncing in too. Mum and Aunt Terry each gave Nick a birthday kiss. Then they gave him his present. Auntie Terry gave Nick a racing car for his racing car collection and a shiny box. "When I saw this, I had to get it for you," she said. On the box it said, "4-leaf clover kit. Grow your own good luck." Mum gave Nick a great big box of sticks and bricks and nuts and bolts to build things. She also gave him a box full of drawers. "This is to help you organise all your collections," she said. Annie's present was a cuddly monkey that laughed when you squeezed its paw. Everyone else laughed too. Nick Mack loved his presents, but even though he'd wished and wished and wished for a pet of his own, he still didn't have one. Suddenly he thought of Newton and he smiled. "Time for your birthday breakfast," said Mum. "What would you like?" Nick wanted everything, cereal and eggs on toast and a bowl full of strawberries. After a while, Nick asked, "Can we still go to the farm?" The farm was to be his birthday outing. "Of course," said Mum. "It's not raining too hard. We'll just have to wear our Macks." Nick Mack. After breakfast, Nick went next door to get Allie. "Happy birthday, Nick," said Nick's special friend. "Woof, woof, woof," said Newton, Nick's special dog. Nick stroked Newton's head and gave him a dog treat. "Are we going now?" asked Allie. "Yes, yes, yes," said Nick. McGallan's farm was only a short car ride away. When they got there, Mum brought a few small bags of animal feed. "Imagine having a goat," said Nick as they fed the goats. "Imagine having a horse," he said as they fed the horses. They stroked the rabbits, then went into the barn and watched newborn chicks hopping under bright lights. Afterwards, Auntie Terry brought everyone an ice cream. Outside the shop, a sign leaning against the gatepost said, "Kittens free to good homes." A boy sat on a big stone. He held the box wriggly with kittens. Nick loved them straight away. "Oh, aren't they sweet?" said Mum. Mum had always said that dogs were too much work, and she didn't want a rabbit or a tortoise or a tank full of fish. But Mum liked kittens, and she liked cats too. Nick stroked the grey one with the white patch on its back. "You can pick her up," said Nick. "She's the smallest. We call her Lucky." "We call Nick Lucky too," said Allie. She almost told the boy about Nick finding the 4-leaf clover, but she decided not to. Mum had a word with Aunt Terry. She looked at the kittens again, and they went into the shop. When they came out, she said, "Happy birthday, Nick Mack. Lucky is all yours." Just then the sun came out and a rainbow stretched from one end of the field to the other. "You're supposed to make a wish," said Mum. For the first time ever, Nick didn't feel like making a wish. All his wishes had come true.